Welcome everybody to Administration of Public Works for January 11th, 2021. We do have a quorum. Our first order of business is motion suspending the rules to allow for remote participation. Alderman Braithwaite, would you mind making that motion?
Yes, as a result of the executive order issued by Governor J.B. Pritzker suspending the in-person attendance requirements for public meetings, City Council members and staff will be participating in this meeting remotely.
All right, I believe this requires a roll call vote. Mr. Stoneback, can you call the roll, please?
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye, here.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey. Alderman Fleming.
Alderman Rainey is showing his connecting director.
And I thought I saw Alderman Fleming. Alderman Rainey, they made the motion to suspend the rules and meet remotely. Would you indicate whether you're in favor of that motion or not?
He's thinking about it.
Alderman Rainey, are you able to hear us?
Alderman Rainey.
We can actually hear her.
Yeah, how about I'll try to give her a call and see if she's just having some tech issues.
We do have 3 votes in favor of that, Alderman Sufferton.
Okay, does that need to be unanimous or is 3 enough? I believe that needs to be a unanimous vote.
I am not certain.
It will need to be a unanimous vote to suspend the rules, yes.
Thanks, Nick. So we're just waiting on Alderman Rainey and Alderman Fleming.
I'm here.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, we didn't hear you.
I know, I couldn't get my thing to work.
Okay, we're all good. Welcome. We're ready to rock and roll.
Alderman Rainey, are you in favor of suspending the rules to allow for remote participation for this meeting?
I could just wait till I push my agenda up. Can you wait?
Sure.
I have it right here.
The motion's already been made. We're just taking the roll call vote at
Oh,
this time.
aye.
Okay.
And then is Alderman Fleming? Alderman Fleming, are you in favor of suspending the rules for remote participation?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. You have a unanimous vote.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Our next item is item M1, which is approval of the minutes of the regular Administration and Public Works Committee meeting of December 14th, 2020. This is for action. So I move approval.
Second.
All right. Mr. Stoneback, you take the roll.
Alderman Braithwaite?
Yep.
Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton?
Aye.
Alderman Rainey?
Aye.
Alderman Fleming?
Aye.
All right. So that motion passes on a 5-0 vote. Next on our agenda is public comment. We have 2 people signed up for public comment. First up is Mike Vasilko for 3 minutes.
You hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So it seems we're starting off 2021 the same way staff started off 2020, 2019, 2018, et cetera, with no bid contracts, change orders, and spending dollars we don't have. I did send an email because I won't get through this even in 3 minutes. Rubber Crown Center, this A3 with the contract for the services for the ice equipment. So as I understand it, staff conceded that they're not qualified to operate the refrigeration system themselves. They elected at some time ago to get two proposals for somebody else to do to operate the ice refrigeration system. Of the two proposals, well, they came to the conclusion that the two contractors who submitted proposals were not qualified for some reason, even though I know for a fact one of them is highly qualified. And they decided to go further and just do a no bid to the contractor who was part of the contracting team that built the project. So we have staff admitting they're unqualified to operate the equipment. It's too hard. They rejected two good proposals. At least one I know is highly qualified. And instead they did a no bid with the existing contractor, Dual Temp Clogger, who, by the way, was invited to bid on the RFP, but decided they couldn't bid because they couldn't get their computers to work that day. So they have a company doing high engineering work who couldn't submit a proposal with the other two to make it competitive because the computers couldn't work. Leaves a lot to be desired, I think, and that item should be rejected. Another favorite staff is the change orders. We have another change order for, this is number A5, for Stantec Consulting Services. Granted, it's only $15,000, but the first change order was $150-some thousand. And between the two, they're now approaching a 30% increase over their original contract amount of $600,000. So either staff didn't have correct information on the original bid documents, either the contractor's taking advantage of the city, or both. But that's ridiculous to have a 30% increase in a contract amount in less than 2 years. Is my time up?
No, you've got 10 seconds.
If it's possible, I would recommend that you reject the change order for A6 and suspend that contract indefinitely. Seems to me you could take that $170,000 and use it for social programs or temporary housings.
All right, Mike, please wrap it up as quickly as possible.
And A8, Levy Center has apparently, the Levy Center belongs to the city of Evanston, but the foundation is awarding no bid contracts to architects and contractors, which is skirting the procedures. The city of Evanston is being asked to pick up part of the bill. That should not be the case under no bid situations.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate your comments. And then we have one more commenter, Jordan Ryan, but my understanding is Jordan doesn't necessarily want to make a public comment, just be available for questions when we get to his agenda item. Is that correct, Jordan?
Yes, thank you, Alderman. If you guys can hear me, yeah, I'm just available if any questions come up for, I believe it's A14, which is the
Okay.
Tesla project.
Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. And with that, that concludes public comment. We're going to move to the consent agenda. I ask that members of the committee take a look and see items that they wish to pull off the consent calendar. I would ask that we remove item A2, and if we just take a few moments for everyone to look through and call out any other items they would like to see removed.
Alderman Suffredin, I would like to item A3,
Okay.
item A6,
Okay.
A8, A9, and then, one second, there are two suspension of the rules. One is going to be A16, and I think hold on then. There's two with the parking garage. My pages are out of order. So I think that should be A15. There.
Yeah, A15 and A16.
A15 also.
Okay.
Yeah, A15, A16.
Okay. Does anybody else have items they'd like removed?
I would like A7. I don't think that was covered.
Okay,
And I have a question about A17.
A17. Okay, so we'll pull that one as well. All right, so,
20, is there someone from staff here to speak to A20 on the business license? I might get my question answered before then. Just remove it if you don't mind.
Alderman Simmons, I don't believe anyone is here, but I can try and reach out to someone.
I might, if you just remove it, by the time we get to it, I might be okay.
and
Okay.
Alderman Simmons, I want to make sure, when you see A20, are you looking at the city council agenda and not the APW?
I am. I don't have my, so I'm.
Okay, no, it's fine. Okay, so A20 is not on this agenda anyway, so we'll get your question answered by.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right, well then, I move the consent agenda with the exception of items A2, A3, A6, A7, A8, A9, A15, A16, and A17. Is there a
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? Yes, Dave. Oh, you're muted, man.
Alderman, I don't see an A17 in the APW agenda.
A17 is not on APW agenda. I'm sorry, that's what I was trying to get to.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, maybe,
Or is that on council as well?
those
Okay.
might be on the council agenda. All right, so there is no need to remove A17.
And then for the committees on edification, there's not a requirement for suspension of the rules for introduction and action at committee. That can only be done at council. So if you guys wanted to include 15 and 16 on the consent agenda, you could, unless you wanted to take them off for debate. But really, they're just coming out of committee to go for introduction and action to council.
All right, Alderman Braithwaite, those are yours. Tell me how you want to
Yeah,
proceed.
no, that's fine. We can deal with it at the council.
Okay. All right, then
Since they don't-
just,
Since they can travel together, that's fine.
all right, so just to make sure that we're clear, this is the consent agenda with the exception of items A2, A3, A6, A7, A8, and A9.
It'll save us some time, give them time back in the evening.
Second,
Is there a second? All right, is there any
Second.
discussion on these items? Seeing none, why don't we go ahead and take a vote?
Alderman Braithwaite, Alderman Braithwaite, I'll come back to him. Alderman Ruth Simmons,
Aye.
Yeah.
Alderman Sufferton,
Director?
Aye.
yes. Alderman Braithwaite,
No, I was just giving you a heads up. For some reason, I'm having a real slow internet connection. So if for whatever reason I'm not responding, my internet is really slow this evening.
okay, are you in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Yeah. I am. Thank you.
Alderman Sufferton,
Aye.
Alderman Rainey,
aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
All right, so on a vote of 5-0, the consent agenda is passed. Now we'll move on to the items that were removed. Alderman Rainey, would you mind moving item A2, please?
Yes, just 1 second. I have to get back up to the top.
Okay.
Yeah, it was way at the bottom. Can you give somebody else A2? I'll take
Sure,
the next
I'm
one.
happy to. Alderman Fleming, do you mind introducing item A2?
A2 is approval of BMO Harris Amazon credit card activity. Staff recommends approving the BMO Harris credit card for period ending October 26, 2020 in the amount of $8,645.16 and November 26, 2020 in the amount of $5,783.81 for action.
Okay, is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Stoneback, would you take the roll?
Alderman Braithwaite,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons,
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton,
I abstain.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
All right, on a vote of 401, item A2 passes.
I've got A3.
All right, go ahead, Alderman Rainey.
Sorry about that. Yes, our staff is asking us to authorize the manager to execute a sole source contract with Dual Temp Closure to provide ice refrigeration maintenance for the Robert Crown Community Center ice complex and library in the amount of $45,123 for year one, $45,939 for year two, and $46,755 for year three. The contract is for an initial 3-year period with the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year renewals. Funding is for the purchases from the Crown Center System Repair Fund account. I move approval. It's a sole source purchase.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
So Director, I see your screen on. Can you tell us a little bit about this contract and what was required and some of the issues that was brought up by our first speaker? And on the back end of that, I'm just curious to know, not directed at you, as I would say to all staff, like really looking for opportunities where we can use local companies in town for something like this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Barnes Hemingway, Director of Parks and Recreation. Alderman Braithwaite, the department put out an RFP through its normal purchasing procedures. The purchasing department received 2 bids. There was a committee of both Parks and Recs as well as facilities staff who has more of our, heating and cooling specialties and those things to review those. And after careful review and then checking references on the 2 companies that bid, based on the information that was submitted for this current RFP and all the items that were listed, these proposals as they were submitted were deemed non-qualified, based upon the information they submitted for this particular RFP. Now, our existing company, Dual Temp, who currently provides these services for us, they indicated at the time that they were having technical difficulties and they were attempting to submit their proposal. Well, the deadline came and went and their proposal was not submitted. So they weren't initially evaluated. But because of the results of the evaluation of the 2 companies that did submit, and they being deemed non-qualified, we went back to our existing vendor and asked them to provide a proposal to us. And that is the contract you have before you today. Okay. So that is the reason why it's coming to you as a sole source. They did indicate they contacted the department to say that they were having technical difficulties in submitting. Mm-hmm. It didn't get submitted, and so we moved on. But after those other 2 proposals weren't deemed qualified, we went back to them and asked them to submit it. And because they have done such an excellent job for us currently, we felt comfortable enough to come and ask for approval of a sole source contract.
Thank you for that. And so on the follow-up, and I see 2 additional questions coming from my peers, is this one of those functions that, for example, a Cahill Plumbing or a local heating and cooling air company could provide? And if you...
No, sir, it's not just heating and cooling. This is the refrigeration plant for the ice arena. Mm-hmm. Very specific technical skill in providing, managing that type of skill. I mean, we're talking, all of the chillers, coolers, and everything else that supports us making the ice at the Robert Crown facility. So this is not regular heating and cooling. This is a specific skill required for us to maintain it. And with the type of investment that has been made in this facility, we wanted to make sure we had top quality support in managing and maintaining that facility.
Hence the reason you deemed the other two people unqualified is where I was going.
Yeah, and let's be clear, it wasn't me personally, the review committee and purchasing department.
Fair enough. Thank you, Director.
All right, Alderman Rainey.
Yeah, I have two questions, Mr. Chairman. Number one, what was the nature of their technical difficulties? Did it have to do with their being incompetent to put the proposal together? Was it their electricity was out? What was the nature of their technical difficulties?
They believed that their computer system had been hacked and they were working through getting through those kind of challenges. And so their system was down at the time that our RFP was due.
All right. Okay. Number two, all right. Number two, who else do they service? Do they service any other ice rinks?
Yeah, Dual Temp is the #1 ice rink service provider in the Chicagoland area. They service the Chicago Blackhawks. They service several of the recreation rinks in this area, Mount Prospect, Park Ridge, several others. When I just off the top of my head, those two come to my mind. But when we initially went down the path of when the facility was still under construction and we started to look for a service provider, we contacted all the rinks in the area to ensure that we were identifying the right company. And almost all of them use Dual Temp as their service provider.
Right. Do you know any of the rinks that are of our size that have municipal employees servicing the refrigeration on those rinks?
So all of the rinks have some sort of preventive maintenance contract because it's the best management practice. Our staff has some of the technical skills to do some of the work. I'll go back to our original RFP. There were items taken out because there were items that staff was comfortable doing, but some of the more technical things, it was deemed in the best interest to have an outside contractor support us. Now, another part of this conversation was, or is, originally there was a proposal that the city would hire an individual staff person to kind of take over and do this work. That person was going to be assigned in the facilities department, and we unfortunately never did go through or follow through with that. Once we were able to put out a job spec, we didn't find the correct person, and at that point, it was deemed to go forward with a contract.
Those persons are probably working for this kind of company, right?
Yeah, those kind of folks are working in the private sector, making much more higher salaries than the city could afford.
So this company does this same kind of work for the Blackhawks at the stadium, right?
They are the Blackhawks vendor. That's correct.
Okay, right. Thank you. I think we picked the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Alderman Fleming.
She's on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry, in reading the packet, I don't remember when we do this, but oftentimes there's a criteria matrix that's used. It's in the materials that says, these companies scored these points, and so therefore we chose them or didn't choose them. Is that something we use for this type of RFP? I can't remember when I see it and when I don't.
Yes, we always use the matrix, scoring matrix as part of our evaluation process. And I just don't have it here. I can try to get a copy of the matrix from the purchasing division. They're the ones that keep that matrix and keep those scores.
Okay, well, I think it would be beneficial if we just make it a practice, I guess this is to the city manager, for all of our RFPs, that we have that matrix in there so that our citizens and myself know what the issues are. I mean, it was not very, I don't question this company, but it was not very thorough in terms of what the other companies were lacking, whether it was, whatever it was. So that's always beneficial for me when I'm looking at how you all choose something, particularly when it goes from, we didn't choose the people who actually applied and we, went back or went to someone else, because obviously with government and taxpayer dollars, we want to make sure we're putting all the information out there. And then that way we can hopefully help citizens see that the decisions are thorough and we're not just picking up the phones and calling people we know to bid on stuff. So if you can, I don't need to see that now. I'm comfortable with this company, but if we can make sure that's in all RFP information we get, that would.
I agree with Alderman Fleming. It is always helpful no matter what the bids are.
Yeah, and no matter if we choose the people or not, it helps us to see what the choice was based on.
And Alderman Fleming, thank you for that suggestion. It may have just been an oversight on my part not to include it. So I will make sure that's always included.
All right.
All right, Alderman Braithwaite.
Thank you. And Director, just to follow up on a point that you made, on their website, as I was looking through it, they do offer trainings. And so we probably might not be able to afford to have somebody full-time, but it does look like they provide trainings on their website just in case of an emergency or to fill a gap. I don't know if the contract, and I need to reread it, covers that 24-hour emergency clause. Does it?
Yes, this contract is 24 hours for any emergency.
Perfect. Okay. You answered all my questions. Thank you.
All right, is there any further discussion? If not, why don't we go ahead and vote on this item? Mr. Stoneback.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
All right, so that passes on a 5-0 vote. Alderman Fleming, I believe you pulled item A6.
I had a quick, that was me. Do you have a question also, Alderman Fleming?
You can go.
Sure, I was just, and my apologies, for this one, I wasn't able to get in and read it. I was just trying to get, since it's just for introduction, understand the why behind it, number one. And then number two, right now you could shoot a cannon down any street in Evanston where there's a commercial space. Are we focusing this citywide study? Again, I'm not sure who asked for it. I'm just trying to get a little bit of understanding of what we're thinking here with a citywide parking study.
Hi, good evening, members of the committee. Michael Rivera, parking manager for City of Evanston. So this item was a recommendation that had came through the former Transportation and Parking Committee that they had requested this in years prior. In 2019, they had asked for parking studies, and we had released an RFP late 2019, made a selection in early 2020, and it made the award to the Wantman Group for the price of $33,000. The work was supposed to commence around April 1st, 2020, and could take up to a year. And they were going to evaluate, our parking meter system, our permit system, and how we manage those items for the City of Evanston. We tabled it just because the governor's stay-at-home order and the COVID-19 current pandemic. So we've been in contact with the Wantman Group and just basically extending the start date. So at this point, the work was supposed to start April 1st and was supposed to be completed within a year. So that would have been by April 1st of 2021. So since we haven't started the work yet, we're basically bringing this back to the council, asking for an extension of time. And we don't even know if we're going to start it, within the next 120 days because of how the circumstances we're in and still dealing with the pandemic.
Alderman Fleming.
Yeah, I think you addressed my question with a point that makes sense. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Peter, go ahead.
Alderman Fleming?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Just to give some context, because I was on the Parking and Transportation Committee, we asked for this in 2019, but it had actually come up to, I think, either council or committee, I believe in 2018, and then it was, we were tabled or told we didn't need it, I think because of budget issues, but Alderman Braithwaite, initially it came up because we had, in Parking and Transportation, we're doing so many changes, kind of block by block of parking, and each time we made a change, usually or someone came forward and complained about the parking being pushed to their block. And so the thought was we needed to do a more comprehensive study of what's happening around the city. And so that's just to give you some more context that Mr. Rivera didn't bring into the conversation, from my opinion.
Correct. And the other thing, if I could add, is that we haven't paid anything to the Wantman Group, and we will not pay them anything until they start work. And it's not costing us anything to extend the period for them to start the work.
Sorry about that. I was having technical difficulties at the tail end of your comments. And I missed about probably a minute or so of what you said. So if you have to repeat yourself, my apologies.
Sure.
But all I'm saying is it makes sense that we're delaying this just because there's really no activity, and anything that they see between now and when things pick up will have an impact. So if that was a summary, then that's why I pulled it off and you addressed it. Thank you.
Correct. And what I had summarized was that we haven't paid them any fees, and we won't pay them any fees until they initiate the work, and the extension is not costing us anything either.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there
any other questions?
No, I think that's it. So on that, Mr. Stoneback, if we could take a vote. This is for introduction.
Chairman, I don't believe that there was ever a motion made to accept this. We went right into discussion.
Okay.
So we should have a motion first.
Sure, I move that I move item A6.
Second.
All right, and now that we've had a robust discussion, I think we could take a vote on moving it for introduction.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Bruce Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
All right, and we'll vote 5-0. Item A6 passes. Alderman Rainey, will you take item A8?
It's A7, right?
A7, yes.
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our staff is asking us to approve a 2-year contract extension with Automated Parking Technologies to continue analyzing and reporting parking data connected with parking at the city garages and on the city's website. The cost will be $54,484 for 2021 and $26,853 for 2022 and $58,537 for the optional 2023 term. Funding will be split between 3 units in the parking fund: Church Street, Church Street, Sherman Garage, and Maple Garage. I move approval.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Fleming.
Yeah, I have a quick question, Mike. Ideally, I would say no to this only because parking is, heavily available now. However, I know we have the scoreboards up, or not scoreboards, whatever they're called. So we need to have something there and make sure they're working. My question is, kind of what is the projected in a regular non-COVID year revenue for those garages? And you might not have to put it out, and you could email me, but I'm interested in the revenue for the garages and kind of what our forecast is with this new system of getting cars into the garages. I know that's been a huge problem.
Sure. So I could tell you the 3 garages, we ended 2020 at 3.2 million, and our revenue for 2019 was 5.3. So we should be in the 5 million plus range with the 3 parking garages. So what Smarking does, Smarking is an asset to us currently because we have decreased staff in the parking services department. So we had one individual that was laid off due to budget, and we have a supervisor position that's been temporarily frozen due to budget. So this Smarking, we have an assigned account manager that works directly with our existing admin staff. And not only do they analyze the city of Evanston data from parking meters, parking garages, from permits, from mobile pays, but they also pair that up against other municipalities, because the Smarking and APT, they also contract with other municipalities throughout the nation. So what they do is that they compare that data based on similar size municipalities and see how our numbers compare to them, and where we're lacking, and where we can adjust our rates, and where we can adjust our offerings. We have found lately it's been a big asset to us, because as other communities have started opening up a little bit due to COVID restrictions, they've been able to share their numbers of those similar communities and how the numbers have been ticking up for those communities if things have started to open back up with some, dining and restaurants and taverns and things like that. So we have found that it's been quite an asset for us so far.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Stomach, could you please take the roll on item A7?
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
All right, that passes on a vote of 5-0. Alderman Rainey, I apologize. A8 was the one that I had earmarked for you. I believe you're the one who pulled that one.
Sure, I'll do it. No problem. The staff is asking us to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Troop Contracting for the Levy Senior Center Linden and Locust Room renovation in the amount of $248,614.37. The award of this agreement is contingent upon the execution of the amended Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, with the Levy Senior Center Foundation. Funding will be from the Capital Improvement Fund 2020 General Obligation Bonds in the amount of $30,683, from 2021 General Obligation Bonds in the amount of $25,000, and from the Levy Center Senior Foundation in the amount of $192,931.37. The Capital Improvement Fund will pay the entire initial cost and will be reimbursed by the Levy Senior Center Foundation upon project completion. A more detailed breakdown of the funding is included in the corresponding transmittal memorandum. I move approval.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item?
So there are a lot of moving pieces behind the transfer of funds. So can someone just real high level summarize that? And then the second thing, and I will continue to ask, is throughout the year until we can come up with a policy. This seems like something that could have possibly been awarded to a local Evanston business under the right contractors, or under the right circumstances. So those are my two questions.
I can answer the part about contractors. May I? Peter?
Yeah, please. Yes, please. If you.
One of the things I think they're trying to do is, the architects that built the place,
Okay.
Ross Barney, okay, they're trying to continue to use that the contractor, I think that they're familiar with.
Okay.
So that things, fit together and continue on and don't clash. And so that would be my explanation, because I know that those architects were involved in this renovation.
Okay. And then just on paper, kind of like the left and right hand financing, what was the reason there, Alderman Rainey?
Reason for what?
Just the financing, can you explain? It sounds like the city's paying for it in the Levy Center's, the Levy Center Foundation.
city,
and
I think-
reimburse.
Yeah, I think the city wanted it that way, actually. That's the way it has to work. I think the Levy Center Foundation would like to have been let loose to do everything, not to pay these extra pieces that the city is going to cover. Those were really things that are the city's business. But I think in order to control the activity, I think the city wanted to do that. And by the way, the architect that is working on this job, who worked on it originally, lives in Evanston. So,
Sure.
I mean, so there's a connection. But I think you're going to have to talk. I know we talked with, we met with Laura Biggs, and she explained why this had to happen. And so if she's around, she could.
Yeah, she's on camera.
Because don't you think that the Levy Center Foundation would just like to be told, oh, go ahead and do it yourself? But in order to keep them under control, you're taking control, right?
Yes, Alderman.
That's the aldermanic explanation. I know.
My name is Laura Biggs. I'm the city engineer. The Levy Center Foundation's been really enthusiastic about trying to fund renovations of the Levy Center, sort of one room at a time as they do the fundraising. And they previously did the library that's located at the Levy Center. They would be happy to do this without the involvement of the city of Evanston. However, city staff insists on reviewing all of the drawings. And also, once we have an agreement as to what the improvements are going to look like, the city actually has on staff people already that can oversee the construction and make sure that it's done in accordance with the drawings at no additional cost to the Levy Center Foundation. So for that reason, we actually bid the project, and then there was a discussion before the project was designed about the foundation felt it was important for the city of Evanston to have a financial stake in the work so that we would also feel responsible for it. And for that reason, we are contributing a small portion of the funding as well.
But didn't they try to do everything Evanston? I mean, didn't they really?
They did.
With a few exceptions.
Yes, when we solicited the bid packages, no Evanston contractors put in a bid package. It was an open, publicly advertised bid. The mill worker that is doing the cabinetry work in particular has done a lot of work at the Levy Center, is an Evanston business. And I am so embarrassed because I just can't remember their name off the top of my head. But I'm happy to provide that. But that company is an Evanston business. And so, yes, they're trying to sub to Evanston businesses where they can.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, is there anything else on this one? If not, Mr. Stoneback, you want to take the roll?
Alderman Braithwaite,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons,
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton,
Aye.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
All right, so that item passes by a 5-0 vote, and that brings us to our final item that was pulled off of the consent agenda, which is item A9, also related to Levy Center. Alderman Rainey, you take that one.
Okay. This is resolution 4R21, authorizing the manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the city and the Levy Senior Center Foundation to renovate the Levy Senior Center's Linden Room. Funding for the entire construction costs will initially be provided by the Capital Improvement Fund. The city will ultimately be responsible for $55,683, including $25,000 for the work in the Linden Room and $30,683 for repairs to the floor of the Locust Room. The remaining construction costs, currently estimated at $263,864.37 will be reimbursed to the city by the Levy Senior Foundation upon completion of the project. I move approval.
Second.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Stoneback, will you please take the roll?
Alderman Braithwaite,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons,
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton,
Aye.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
All right, so that has passed on a 5-0 vote. That brings us to the point in our agenda where we're at items for consideration. Item C1 is a parking meter update. Parking staff recommends the Administration of Public Works Committee accept and place on file a report on the city's parking meters. Is there anybody who wishes to have discussion on this, or should we just accept and place on file this report?
I move we accept and place on file.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Do we need a vote on that?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Stoneback, will you take that vote?
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons,
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton,
Aye.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and that brings us to items for discussion, which is item D1, persons with disabilities, parking placards, parking spaces. Parking staff requests direction on charging for parking in disabled parking spaces. The state of Illinois eliminated automatic free parking for persons with disabilities parking in disabled parking spaces in 2017, making it feasible for Evanston to begin charging in certain situations. The Administration and Public Works Committee should decide whether the additional revenue would be worth any potential hardship to the disabled community. This is for discussion. Mr. Rivera, I presume you are the man who is here to discuss that.
Hi, good evening, members of the committee again. So I am asking for your help in determining if the city of Evanston wants to impose metered parking rates on individuals parking in disabled parking spaces throughout the city of Evanston. So I brought this to the former Parking and Transportation Committee on 2 separate occasions in 2019 and 2020. And the item was tabled, and then I brought it at right before at the last meeting of the Parking and Transportation Committee for 2020, and a determination was not made. The problem that we have here at the city is that for many years we didn't impose any fees to individuals parking in the disabled spaces throughout the city, and in 2017 that legislation changed through the state of Illinois. Now we have an option we can impose the rate that's associated with the parking for that block, or we can just simply decide not to charge individuals that are parking in disabled spaces. That's an option that we can make, determination that we can make for ourselves. There seems to be a lot of confusion about the parking because there's individuals that have permanent disabled license plates. There's individuals that have blue permanent disabled hang tag placards. There's individuals that have red temporary disabled placards. And then there's green organizational hang tags, which is like car services would use those as they're transporting disabled individuals around town. And then there's only one placard that's deemed exempt from payment currently, and that is yellow and silver, and that is by the state of Illinois. So the confusion is that a lot of individuals that have these placards don't understand if they're supposed to pay or not. Sometimes they park in spaces, and then we inadvertently end up writing them citations for an expired parking meter because they haven't paid for the space. So my ask is, do we continue to charge for these spaces, or do we want to allow them to be free?
Alderman Rainey, then Alderman Fleming.
How many spaces are there? And if they were occupied, let's say half of the time, what would be the revenue?
We don't have an inventory of the disabled spaces, but I can tell you currently offhand, The spaces that we're talking about are the ones that would be in the metered parking areas, so along Main and Howard and downtown and Central Street and so on. So I could guess right now they're probably approximately 50 or less.
I move we not charge because it sounds like more trouble than it's worth. And it, you know, it would just cut out all the confusion, just go charge. It doesn't include parking at the curb in front of a meter, right?
No, we're talking specifically disabled spaces on the street in metered areas.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about.
Yep. Okay. Marked spaces, disabled.
Yeah, marked disabled spaces, and this would not be relevant to parking garages. This is on the street in metered areas.
I move that I recommend to my colleagues that we not charge.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I second.
Well, here, why don't we complete?
I'll second. I looks like there's no question, sorry.
Discussion first, Alderman Fleming.
I do have a question. So regarding the confusion with the placards, that's because the city gives out some placards and the state gives out different placards with different colors and all that, right?
Well, the placards that I was identifying are all issued by the state of Illinois. So people with permanent disabilities will apply for those placards through the state of Illinois, and then we'll honor those.
Okay, but you also mentioned the commercial vehicles, I think, or vehicles doing transit.
Sure. So the state of Illinois,
like the Pace paratransit bus or something like that.
correct. They would have a green hang tag and those type of vehicles, and those are deemed organizational. So that organization would understand that they have to pay for parking whenever they park in disabled spaces. The problem that we have is that the organization may know that, but maybe the drivers aren't always educated as to the fact that they should be paying for spaces when they're transporting people. So sometimes we inadvertently write tickets to those transport vehicles as well if they haven't paid for meters.
All right, so I agree we should not be charging individuals. It's too confusing. It's not worth the money. There's a disability. However, if you have Pace or some other business that is charging, even if it's a small amount, people to transport them, and then that driver is parking in the space, I would be okay charging them. Also, because we assume the driver is, driving a, carload full of people, but maybe they're on lunch break and they're just parking there because they know it's free. So I do think, I'd much rather have those spaces free and opened up for the individual or, the family member driving around the person with a disability. But if there is a company, particularly a for-profit company who is driving folks, I don't know if we need to necessarily extend it to them. However, Mike, you're in touch with those people to be able to explain to them that they now have to pay.
Right, and from what we see, those transport services, their business, how they make revenue is transporting people. So most of the time, they don't stick around and linger in a space. They'll use that space to unload or offload individuals, and then they'll be on to the next client, and somebody else will pick up the client or they'll return. But they usually don't linger in spaces. It's more the individuals with their personal vehicles that seems to be the problem for us.
Okay, well, I'm in support of not charging the individuals.
Okay, thank you.
It sounds like where we all are, this item's for discussion, so we don't need to take a vote, but Mr. Rivera, do you feel like you've got clear direction from the members of this committee?
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, thank you for coming, and thank you for all the fine work that you do, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so.
Alderman Schlemmer, I just wanted to comment, I hope you stick around, Mike, till the council meeting, but great job on the parking garage leases as well.
Thank you, Alderman Braithwaite.
You're welcome.
All right, so that brings us now to items for communication. Are there any of those right now? If not, that brings us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. Mr. Stoneback?
Alderman Braithwaite.
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Sufferton.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
All right, well, that is a unanimous vote as well. Planning and development is posted for what time? Are we already past? Can we?
Yes, it was to start at 5 o'clock.
Okay, is it, can we say that committee will start at 5:30? Is that good with the chair? Sorry, Melissa, you're muted.
I think that's fine. Thank you, Alderman Sutherland. I think starting at 5:30 would be good.
Okay, see everyone for that committee at 5:30. Thank you, staff, and appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.